Welcome back to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me from the onset to thank you for your unwavering and continued support to this channel. When I say support, I mean it. Those who started with me when we were at 012 subscribers understand what I mean. We've made tremendous progress, and this is all because of you. We are at 25,000 subscribers. To me, that is a milestone. It is because of those who have stood with me. Sometimes we do research here and we even make mistakes when we go on air. There are people who will comment there, tell me Achando hapo umekosea. Sometimes they would even call me or WhatsApp and tell me not like that. So those are the people who really have made this channel grow. We have critics, sometimes they even go overboard, they even insult you. But we grow by listening to them. And when I say from the bottom of my heart, thank you for that support, I mean, thank you very much. When we do fundraising here for people who cry out for help, you have not disappointed. You've always come in a big way. So just allow me to thank you once again for the support. Ladies and gentlemen, having said that, how do you describe the Kenya Kwanza government? When you look at how they conduct themselves in terms of social, economic and political activities, in terms of governance, growing economy, in terms of respecting human rights, in terms of obeying their promises. How do you compare, for example, the government of William Ruto and that of Mwai Kibaki or Uhuru Kenyatta? If you ask me, I never really grew up to see the kind of leadership that Moi offered. But from history and what we've been told by those who are there and what we read, Moi was a dictator. Moi was a dictator, and some gallant men and women had to rise up to the occasion to ensure that we gained multipartism. But I saw Kibaki and I saw Uhuru Kenyatta and now William Samoei Ruto. If you ask me, William Ruto and Daniel Torotich Arap Moi are the same thing, except that William Ruto is a learned Moi version. And William Ruto has never accepted that we are under a new constitutional dispensation. He still feels that we can work as we used to during the Moi era. So there's a lot of confusion in this government, confusion and error, and we need someone to come and bring order and sanity. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to read something that is going to form the basis of this analysis. In our constitution, Article 35 talks about the right to information. And allow me just to read something. That the right to information, as enshrined in Article 35 of the Kenyan Constitution and further detailed in the Access to Information Act, guarantees citizens the right to access information held by the state and other entities. This includes information needed to exercise or protect rights, as well as the right to correct or delete misleading information. The state is also obligated to publish and publicize important information affecting the nation. In a nutshell, as a Kenyan citizen, we have the right to information. Why am I saying this? A few weeks or months ago, there was a debate about the government seal. And by now we understand that the government seal is the symbol of authority in government documents. For example, if we sign a deal with Adani or with some Chinese, companies, there must be a government seal authorizing that that has come from the Kenyan government. And from all along, the government seal has always been under the custody of the Attorney General. It has been like that. Kibaki, for the 2 terms that he led this nation, never imagined, never dreamt, never attempted to remove that seal from the Attorney General's office, because Attorney General is the official advisor of the government. Uhuru came with all the faults and all the weaknesses, never attempted to take the government seal from the Attorney General's office. So William Ruto comes, and within only 2.5 years, there is a debate about the government seal. We never had that debate because no one touched on it. Kibaki and Uhuru had their faults. There were corruption cases, there were some cases of extrajudicial killing, but they never touched on the constitutionality. They never touched on the constitutionality of the government seal. So the government spokesman, Isaac Mwaura, blew the whistle when he was confronted to tell us where the government seal is. Bravely, with a lot of authority, and we assume that he is there to give us the government's position. He told us, without blinking, that the government seal had been removed from the Attorney General's office following recommendations and voting in Parliament. And he told us that we should check for the Hansard. And he said there was no problem with that. It is with the head of the public service, Felix Kosgei.
Where is the government seal right now?
When you look at when you look at the law is very clear. The seal is under the head of public service. That is the law. It was passed recently.
So, Dr. that is to say the AG doesn't hold the government seal
The
anymore.
new law is that the head of public service is the one who has the public seal.
But was it communicated to Kenyans? Are the citizens aware that the government seal left the AG's office to head of public service?
Ronnie Reagan, that is a process that went through Parliament.
Kenyans did not take this lightly. There was a lot of critique because many Kenyans now felt that since the government seal is the symbol of authority on government documents, William Ruto, from having listened to confessions from people who have worked with him, many thought that he had very ulterior motives and maybe he wanted to get back to Adani. Adani did through the back door. And there was a lot of outcry from legal minds in the country.
The seal must be with the Attorney General. And if I remember correctly, that's one of the controversies that made Dr. Ruto move Muturi from Attorney General to public service. Because they wanted the seal in State House. Muturi was saying it is not possible. They have now amended the law through the back door, which again is unconstitutional. The Attorney General is the legal advisor of the government, so he advises when to put the seal. How do you put the seal in State House? Who will advise? Or is Dr. Ruto now advising Kenya on legal matters? This means that they want shoddy contracts and any-like contracts which they can stamp with the seal in State House. I do not know whether the Attorney General signs after they have signed or whether they have her electronic signature. Only they can explain. This does not augur well for the country. We are being sold short.
So when they realized that there was a backlash, because all the legal minds were asking, what had motivated William Ruto to even think of taking the government seal if he has, the right motive. And I think they convened a very urgent meeting, and Isaac Mwaura returned again, now trying to correct and unwrap what he had said. And he was now confirming that the government seal is in the Attorney General's office. And that is why I started by reading that as a Kenyan citizen, we have the right to information. Not just information, but the right information. We have the right to get the right information from the government. So Isaac came, and without blinking, he was telling us that, the government seal is with the Attorney General.
The public seal is actually under the custody of the Attorney General as per Article 9 of the Constitution. And if we look at the Office of the Attorney General Act, Clause 2 on definition of terms, it clearly states exactly that. And so therefore, this needs to go on record that the public seal is not with the head of public service. It is with the Attorney General, and that is misinformation, disinformation that came as a result of a process in Parliament. Then, of course, it was deleted. It was a proposal. It never went through, and we want to tell media houses to verify their facts before they publish that, because I think that is what created the momentum. So, as a government spokesman, we withdraw and clarify that one, so that then we get the position right, and this should be on the record.
And then the Attorney General, who is the official government advisor, Madam Dorcas, had this to say following Isaac Mwaura's declaration that the custody of the public seal is clearly provided for by law. And that position remains unchanged. I am still in custody of the seal, contrary to what has been reported in the media. As a government, we work together under the leadership of the president as a united team. Let me ask you, number one, you realize that she's now, pointing accusing fingers to the media. The media only reported what the government spokesman had told us. He invited the media to highlight the achievements of the government, and he allowed questions. So the media sought to understand the correct position about the government seal, and he told us it is with Felix Kosgei. So when Madam Dorcas tells us that contrary to reports from the media, I think she's not right, because this was the position of the government spokesperson. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, if I describe the government of William Ruto as a government full of confusion and error, would I be wrong? And if I tell you that this confusion is deliberately created, would I be wrong? Because if you listen to Madam Dorcas, or we read what she's saying, Madam Dorcas has been coerced to come and clarify this position. Why would Isaac Mwaura tell us something today, then the following day he negates his own words? As a citizen, a Kenyan citizen who has the right, not the privilege, but the right to information, who do I trust? Do I trust the earlier position of Isaac Mwaura or the second position? It beholds one to, start wondering why the confusion. I can safely tell you and conclude that William Ruto had very bad motives with this government seal, because the former Attorney General J.B. Muturi has confessed that he was being coerced to sign certain deals. And when he declined, I think this is when Ruto realized that he was dealing with a difficult man. So he took the government seal to his, I want to call it, his Kalenjin staff. Wale wakiingia pale wanaweza ongea Chamgei na wanasema wewe fanya hivyo. Recently, the former deputy president told us, Rigathi Gachagua, that when he declined to invite Hemedi, the rebel leader, the head of the rebel group that is causing havoc in Sudan, he realized his signature was forged. So when you tell us that this seal was with Felix Kosgei, then it means they simply stamp it and forge the Attorney General's signature. Even if this is in the custody of the Attorney General, they are unnecessarily creating confusion and a debate that should not be there. Like I said, it wasn't there during Kibaki. It wasn't there during Uhuru. Now they bring it themselves. Kenyans are waking up to this kind of news that, they are trying to remove the government seal. Let me tell you why we have a right even to conclude that there is mischief. William Ruto got to the office and the first thing he did was to force Parliament to pass a law that when the government wants to sell, parastatals, members of Parliament do not have a say. The person who has got the prerogative is the CS Finance. And CS works under the priority of the president because he's an appointee. And as of kuzwa kesho, that's when we heard that, KCC was going, our seed corporation was going. Anything that William Ruto did immediately he got to power was preparing for something else. He gets to power, he overturns the ban on GMO because he knew they had a plan with Bill Gates. And that's why I'm telling you that this government has got no good motive for Kenyans. It has got no plan to help Kenyans. All they are planning is to benefit themselves in conjunction with other Western powers. Our president did not support the new constitution. He campaigned against it. And I dare say that he really meant it because he's got this penchant of trying to interfere with the articles in the constitution. Our president and the executive arm of the government has captured all the independent institutions and the independent bodies. Like the Attorney General now has been captured. I know she's been cajoled to tell us that, this seal is with us. That is the same thing with the government spokesperson being tossed around, by a phone call. We could even see him coming back to correct that. No, we are sorry. The government seal is with Felix Kosgei. That is the kind of government that we have. Ladies and gentlemen, in light of Article 35, under the right to information, where is the government seal and do we trust it? That is why there is lack of trust between the president or the government of Kenya and the people because they keep on lying. And once that trust is gone, it is gone forever. And William Ruto, even after attending a prayer breakfast yesterday, they still come up with this. It is a very sad state of affairs that we should condemn and compel the government to give us the right position of the government seal because it is in the constitution and our constitution must be respected.